morning. I'm Michelle Arthur with the Tuesday, November 17th edition of the CBC Evening News. Police have made a breakthrough with a number of murders committed this year, and now a 21-year-old man has been charged in relation to these and other offences. It was just after 1 when police escorted 21-year-old Michael Keenan Blackett to the Bridgetown Traffic Court. The Block 2 Flat Rock St. George resident is charged with 3 murders and 2 woundings, all committed this year. The first relates to the death of Charles Ellis, who was shot on May 5th at Nelson Street. The second, Hashem Telemac, shot on August 4th at a bar at Fords Road, St. Michael. Then the death of Kemal Leacock, who was shot on August 14th at Bottom Close Wildy, St. Michael. Blackett is also accused of wounding Tremaine Blenman at Parkinson Field, Pineland, St. Michael on January 22nd, and Sean Lord at Fords Road, St. Michael on August 4th. Ford was shot during the same incident that claimed Telemac's life. Blackett, who appeared before Magistrate Graveney Bannister, was remanded but returns to court on November 23rd. There's another twist in the bank's Holdings Limited takeover bid. In a major development tonight, Anson McCall has declared it's not only appealing last Friday's High Court decision, but it is also leading a class action suit against BHL. Ryan Broom has more.
In a statement, President and CEO of Anson McCall, Nicholas Moutet, said the company will be joined by several other BHL shareholders who intend to bring the lawsuit against BHL. He said the action is being taken with a view to getting the $10 put option clause removed from the BHL SLU agreement. Most of the BHL shareholders who intend to join with Anson McCall in the class action suit have shareholding over 100,000 shares. Mr. Moutet also called on all other BHL shareholders who feel aggrieved to join in the class action suit. The lawsuit will contest the validity of the put option clause, challenging its legality and seeking to establish that it is indeed disadvantageous to all shareholders other than SLU and Ambev. The litigants also intend to argue that the actions of the directors negatively impact all shareholders and the image and reputation of the private sector and of Barbados. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
The National Conservation Commission is taking to court its defaulters. It says it won't be tolerating the non-payment of fees for use of its numerous facilities and parks. Those who owe fees and are not paying could possibly face legal action. Minister of the Environment and Drainage, Dr. Dennis Lowe, says there are several people who benefit from the hosting of shows and events but fail to pay up. He was at the time leading off debate in Parliament on the NCC Validation of Fees Bill 2015.
The Commission over the last 45 years has made a significant contribution to the pillars of our development, and those pillars, of course, would be the social, the environmental, the economic, and the governance. Further, the existing legislation of the Commission also provides an important nexus that connects the Commission's work to the national development effort, and it provides a menu of activities and services that contribute to the pursuit of the green economy.
Dr. Lowe says the NCC has been transformed through a new vision. It now has just over 600 staff. Thousands of trees have been planted, spaces provided, and the services of the NCC improved. Dr. Lowe paid kudos to the NCC for its fight against the sargassum seaweed.
As you move around and look at our beaches, that they are very prepared and welcoming to our tourists. The beach at Welch's, for example, was hard hit by seaweed and the discoloration of the near shore water. And passing there this morning again, I'm amazed at how beautiful and white the sand is and how clear and crystal the water is. And I thank the Commission for their efforts there in that regard.
Minister of Housing Dennis Kelman says the DLP administration from the 1970s recognized the importance of the environment.
When the Democratic Labour Party formed the Parks and Beaches Commission, at that time no one spoke about the environment. But when one recognizes the activities that were occurring as far back as the 1970s, clearly we can accept that we were leaders in something that is now the buzzword around the world in the 21st century.
Opposition MP for St. Michael South East, Santia Bradshaw, wants to hear reassuring words from government as it relates to challenges on the South Coast sewerage system.
There are persons who have to work on those beaches. there are people who use those beaches, ordinary Barbadians, sir, like you and me, that use those beaches. I happen to live on the south coast. I utilize the beach, and therefore I have concerns about it. It is not that fingers are to be pointed at a minister in the course of this debate on this issue. I, sir, wish to make it abundantly clear that matters that concern Barbadians are of concern and must be of concern to all of us.
Ms. Bradshaw, though welcoming the strides made by the NCC, suggested the entity may have suffered a severe blow following recent budgetary cuts. She wants to see the NCC working with other government departments so it can effectively carry out its role. The opposition MP also called for greater efforts to be made to develop open spaces in communities.
Always persons in communities asking for an area to be developed so that the youngsters can have an area to recreate, so that the elderly persons can have somewhere to be able to play a game of dominoes. It is a trend that is developing. Some people call it the block culture. Some people say the youngsters are liming. I say, sir, that it is a response and a reaction to a lack of facilities in communities that I believe as any administration we must address as a matter of urgency.
Meanwhile, Culture Minister Stephen Lashley has lauded the NCC for the development of parks and green spaces across Barbados.
The development of play parks alone has had an incredible impact on our communities across Barbados. I have had, Mr. Speaker, the benefit of having at least 2 community play parks developed in my constituency. One in God Hill, opposite the Aberdeen Jones Centre, and the other one in Vauxhall, within the Vauxhall community. And of course, there's another one planned for seniors over in Churchill. But I can say, Mr. Speaker, that the development of those play parks have had a tremendous impact on the life of the communities in which they were developed.
Mr. Lashley is also encouraging communities to help maintain these parks and open spaces, and he's also appealed to Barbadians to stop littering the highways. The minister also suggested political parties join together to do community projects like debushing and cleanups.
I believe it ought not to be the case that any of us are punished for taking that kind of noble stand. And it ought to be encouraged. I would like to see more community groups, including political operatives, MPs, championing the cause of being involved in community activities.
And MP for St. James Central, Kerry Simmons, believes there's an opportunity for the private sector to help maintain parks and open spaces.
This is one of the areas where I feel that there is a wonderful opportunity for us to expand on the excellent idea of having the private sector doing some of the work and then being compensated for it down the road.
Coming up later in the news, our Coast to Coast Independence features. But before we get to that, we want to hear from you on this question. Should communities be allowed to maintain parks and green spaces in their areas? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We have the results at the end of the news.
There are so many people that are involved in the process of making you feel at home here, from the house parents to the girls in my house. Everyone does a really good job on making you feel at home.
Why choose a Canadian boarding school for your child? Find out at the Case Canadian Boarding School Fair. Meet representatives from Canada's top boarding schools at the Accra Beach Hotel Wednesday, November 18th from 5 to 8 p.m. and discover how your child can experience more.
You can make deposits, transfer funds, and withdraw cash at any of Scotiabank's convenient ATMs. We never take a break from serving you. Scotiabank, discover what's possible.
Enjoy the new Fruta Apple Blackcurrant. It's bursting with fruity flavor, 100% vitamin C, plus antioxidants to boost your metabolism and immunity. Taste the new Fruta Apple Blackcurrant today. Juiced right.
Go out there, perform, and create great businesses. That's the philosophy of the 2015 Sir Winston Scott Memorial Lecturer. On the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the Sir Winston Scott Memorial Lecture, the Central Bank of Barbados invites you to hear Nicholas Brathwaite, Caribbean man, developer of cell phone technology, founder of an international private equity investment firm, on technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, igniting economic growth, enhancing global significance, and fueling socio-economic advancement in the Commonwealth Caribbean. Monday, November 23, Frank Collamer Hall at 8 p.m.
Barbados, unlike its neighbor Trinidad and Tobago, has no fighters among the ranks of ISIS. The Barbados Muslim Association says the local Muslim community is a small, close-knit one with knowledge on each other. President Dr. Abdul Mohammed tells CBC News the actions of the militant group go against the teachings of Islam. He is of the view what's taking place in the Middle East is a political war.
We're a small group of radicals brought about by, I think, global mismanagement of the crisis in the Middle East, and a bit of void is created. You have these it's more of a political struggle, using, of course, Islam as a cover and using it as justification. But not in actions, regardless of whichever Muslim country, faith, set you speak to, can relate to the actions or the justification for the actions. So it's not really a competition, it's just a political agenda, really.
The Barbados Muslim Association also joined with the international community in condemning the recent attacks on Paris.
There's nothing but an act of terrorism. Persons with an agenda, political most likely, using Islam as a cover. But there's nothing Islamic what to do, and it's condemning in the strongest possible ways. There's no reason or logic behind killing innocent people, civilians, children, adults, women of all races, cultures, just ruthless, brutal attacks, really.
Local culinary arts were the highlight at the Sir Garfield Sobers Gymnasium over the weekend as it hosted the NIFCA Culinary Arts and Expo. Minister of Culture Stephen Lashley was present and says he was impressed with everything he saw, especially what was produced by the primary schools.
Each year in NIFCA, the primary schools do very well in terms of the culinary side. I think the produce, what they produce is so good, we might have to look to see how we could provide an outlet for what the schools are producing. And of course, that's something that I think we can look at.
Chief Executive Officer of the National Cultural Foundation, Cranston Brown, says the NIFCA Culinary Arts is an important step in achieving culinary excellence on a bigger scale.
For some on their journey to excellence in this discipline and hopefully international acclaim, the NIFCA Culinary Arts remains an important developmental competition that prepares participants with the necessary tools to grow their craft from their kitchens and get them ready for the world. That's what NIFCA is all about. Introducing participants to the realm of possibilities and encouraging these potential culinary entrepreneurs to take their craft to the next level.
The event was also used to highlight popular local chef Peter Eady, who was rewarded for his work over the years. Mr. Eady says his passion for the culinary arts is what keeps him going.
Over 30 years I've enjoyed doing this, and I tell people all the time, I don't feel like I've worked a day in my life as yet, and this is after 30 years. And I always say, the day that I start to work, you will know, because that's the last day you will see me. When it becomes a job, that's the end of it. But you know, it seems, I am now 56 years old, believe it or not, and it seems so far away from that because every morning I still wake up excited to get to work.
A leading cleric wants counseling forums to be set up in communities across Barbados to help young people discuss and resolve their problems. Senior pastor with Restoration Ministries, Senator Reverend Dr. David Durant, says such mechanisms could play an integral role in saving the lives of many young people. He made the comments at a service of hope and healing at the Restoration Ministries Church at Britton's Hill.
It would be so good if different community, various communities around our nation can have a counseling forum where youths will feel free to go and talk with several counselors or with a counselor that they can trust, of their situations, their challenges, if they feel like doing something foolish, before you do it, come and talk to a counselor. Come and talk to someone who can talk you out of it, rather than going and do it. If you are forced or asked to do something you shouldn't do, and you feel under pressure, you have to do it to show yourself you're masculine and macho and a man. I hope that they can be counselors that these young people can go to. They say, look, this is my dilemma. This is my situation.
Dr. Jordan also wants to see help given to young people to make them more rounded. He believes using schools on evenings to teach skills training programs could make a serious impact at the community level.
I think a lot of our schools that are closed down at 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon until the next morning maybe can be open for some skills training and some educational programs for those who have left school already, that you can really work on to develop educationally, to develop some skills training. Right? I believe that some of the schools can be open rather than close up between that 3:30 to 7 o'clock the next morning.
Still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region. But first, we want to hear from you on this question. Should communities be allowed to maintain parks and green spaces in their areas? Text yes or no to short code 8111. The results will come at the end of the news. And you can also follow us on Twitter at CBC_Newsroom and on our Facebook page, CBC News Barbados.